righty, here we go on a Wednesday night tonight. Our first ever podcast on a Wednesday, but we're more than thrilled to have you all in, everybody. Welcome into the United podcast here on this very, very busy Wednesday that will turn into a very, very busy Thursday, everybody. Live here inside the UKnighted Tap House on a Wednesday evening. It is just about nighttime, and less than 24 hours from now, we begin what will be another crazy, busy, but wonderful weekend in Gannon Athletics. We are so fortunate here, and we say this all the time, but we truly mean it, to have incredible student athletes and wonderful teams that make deep, deep postseason runs. And one of the things that lends itself to is events that happen nearly every day on the week. So if you're wondering why we're doing our show tonight, that's why. We have the Volleyball Regional coming up tomorrow. And of course, we want to make sure that we get this podcast out in a timely manner so that you all can watch and enjoy, so that you can all watch and enjoy Gannon Women's Volleyball in action tomorrow at 4:30. But more on that in just a few minutes' time. Welcome in, everybody, here from the UKnighted Tap House. And again, our big thanks to our sponsor, John Russell Hospitality, for presenting our podcast tonight. So the focus is all on Gannon, student athletes, coaches, and the stories behind the teams as to what you can expect for the upcoming week ahead. Hope you all had a wonderful break. Hopefully it was a great Thanksgiving for you and that you still have some leftovers that you can enjoy ahead of the upcoming Christmas holiday season. Let's get right into what we have on tap for tonight in this show. So much happening this evening, and we have a lot of guests to break down the excitement of this first weekend in December. Volleyball head coach Matt Darling will join us in just a few minutes. His team less than 24 hours from now getting ready for what will be an Atlantic Regional hosting tournament Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Gannon, the number one seed in that regional tournament. We'll also preview the regional as a whole as Gannon looks to head back to the Elite Eight for another season. Speaking of Elite Eight, men's soccer, if you have not been following the run that they have been on, you have missed a lot. This team has been incredible. And I say that not lightly, incredible and resilient in their run to the Elite Eight. They just defeated two Boston area teams to get to this round, and they'll be playing on Saturday in that Elite Eight tournament round against Southern New Hampshire. Billy Colton will be here in just a second to break that down as well. Before we get started with our show, though, of course, want to get right to our dish of the day to start the month of December. It's a good one here at the Tap House. Let's take a look at our dish of the day. Bite-sized, but packing a punch in flavor, the Southwest egg rolls, new to the menu, are our dish of the day here at the UKnighted Tap House. They're just bite-sized delicacies, and they are delicious and to die for. If you're a big fan of wraps, rolls, and you like that little crunch with the egg and bacon and cheese, then this is what is for you here at the UKnighted Tap House. And new to the menu just recently, it is the Southwest egg rolls. You can get it today and any day at the UKnighted Tap House downtown here on the corner of 4th and State Street. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show, shall we, as we continue with our excitement of Gannon Athletics. Winter sports season, of course, are in full swing. The basketball team's making impressive runs. Each team have only lost one game this season. Men's basketball just claimed the Gary Miller Classic Championship. Wrestling squads have been great as well, and men's and women's swimming have broken some school records in the first few weeks, and that's just a few of our teams that are competing right now. But we still have two fall teams with deep playoff runs, and we begin tonight with volleyball, hosting the Atlantic Regional at the Highmark Event Center after earning the number one seed in the region for the NCAA tournament. We spoke a few minutes ago with head coach Matt Darling. His excitement to start off the tournament when Gannon plays Fayetteville State tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. in what will be an exciting beginning to their tournament. Here's our interview with head coach Matt Darling as he gets ready for what he considers to be Christmas Eve tonight and Christmas Day tomorrow.
Actually, the hosting privilege is really that. It's a privilege. It's an earned privilege. It's earned by this team for their good performance throughout the majority of the season. We don't take it for granted. We went through a period where we thought we had maybe lost it when we were defeated in the conference championship game. So to have that name pop up as the host on that Monday night was a significant moment. We're all excited about it. I think it's given new energy to us.
Let's go back to the beginning. You told me in the preseason interview that you thought there were a lot of questions, a lot of people that would have to fill a lot of roles. How has this season gone compared to what your highest expectations for this team was so far?
So compared to our highest expectations, it's probably about right. we thought, well, if things go well, we might be able to get into a position where we could be hosting, competitive for a championship. I mean, that was sort of the highest expectation. But if you go to the middle of that, like what would be most likely is that we would have had a few more growing pains, and that we would have had a few defeats along the way that might have kept you from being in a position to host it. But in terms of how players have stepped into those roles, I think a lot of high marks from this group. I would start with the known quantities. Bengasu, we knew was going to be good. She's best player in our half of the conference. She's been excellent. Lauren Atwell, the other returning starter who had a big impact. We needed her to be doing more than she's done the last couple of years. She's done it, and she's done it at a high level. So that was great. People like Sydney Wake, though, stepping into that role on the right side and doing a fabulous job for us. A couple of freshmen, Abby Williams and Alexis Fowler, have just excelled in their roles. And Alexis Fowler, in particular, has been so good down the stretch. And you put those things together and you end up where we are.
I was going to ask you about, first of all, the veterans. We'll get to the freshmen in a second, but you said Lauren and Sydney specifically were going to have to go into new roles, and they've flourished really, really well. And Sue's done what Sue always does,
yes,
and arguably the best player in the region. In your mind, how important has that aspect been of them just picking up where they needed to pick up and be successful, been to the success of the entire team?
You said it. I mean, I could just say yes to that. Like, that was what we needed, and that's what we got from those kids. People we didn't talk about were Nahir and Carissa. Those kids have done a good job sort of anchoring down the other outside spot. And, there's been a little bit of up and down play in that area. But again, as a team, as a whole, people have gotten us where we need to be.
And meanwhile, your freshmen, you mentioned Alexis, there have been many others as well that have contributed a lot that start at this point. How quickly did you get a sense that they knew what their role was and they were exploiting it well, for lack of a better term?
Alexis Fowler has played every single point at libero. She's never been out of the jersey all year, and so that was critical. Abby was able to work herself into the role a little bit more slowly, but she's been really steady for us, and that's been great. Carly Weber is a player who started some big matches for us and has contributed some significant points for us, and she filled in for Sydney Wake when she was out for a couple matches and did so really well also. So yeah, the freshmen have been, we knew they were going to need some production from them, and we've gotten it.
It's funny, all the names you mentioned, you have depth in your lineup, and I'm not sure you even anticipated that at the beginning of the season. How pleased have you been with the fact that you can roll through so many players, and we haven't even mentioned an Ella Waltman who can come off the bench and play well?
Yeah, it's exactly right. And how many times this season have we started with a lineup, things haven't been going well, and then we end up making a change that makes the difference in a win. And Ella Waltman has done that a couple of times for us, actually, where she's gotten us out of some hot water. It's been great.
Let's look at the region as a whole. No matchup is an easy one. You're going to play Fayetteville State tomorrow. But it's a loaded region, one that I think a lot of us wondered at the beginning what's it going to look like, right? Because so many teams have some new players and whatnot coming in. How do you stack up what the region entails, knowing a lot of the teams in this region are the teams that you play in the regular season? Well,
the known quantities for us, the somewhat known quantities, are Pitt Johnstown and IUP, who we've played a total 5 times. This season. East Stroudsburg we know, and Shepherd we know. We play them each once, losing to East Stroudsburg, of course, and beating Shepherd here. So they're somewhat more known to us. We haven't seen Shepherd in a while, so that would require some additional work for us to really get to know them. Then you have the wild cards. We played and lost to Fairmont early in the year. They were really good. We were really bad that day. I don't know what that adds up to, but they're here as an at-large, so obviously they had a good season. They also were rewarded for their good work. The teams that I think are interesting are Fayetteville State and Charleston, the conference champions who got here by virtue of, and only by virtue of, winning their conference. Those two teams are both playing really well. They're both really hot. Fayetteville State has the second best overall record in the whole region behind East Stroudsburg. So yeah, and that's our first round matchup. So it's a tough one. But that being said, I'm excited about the overall level of play. I think there's going to be some really interesting matchups. There's besides the Pitt Johnstown Shepherd match, which is a repeat, all of the matches are non-conference teams playing against each other. It should be awesome. Tomorrow's going to be a really fun day.
Let's talk about the Broncos. What are you expecting from them tomorrow night?
They have a couple of really, really excellent players who score a lot of points for them. They have an outside hitter who's a graduate student, so a lot of experience, 1,000-point scorer. That kid's going to get her points. I don't think we're stopping her. They have a middle who has probably emerged as their second best player. They had an injury to a key piece, which looks like that's not going to be able to put her on the court. So that maybe changes them a little bit. They've got a great setter who really knows how to move the ball around. They can switch in and out of a 5-1 and a 6-2. They did that with some success at their conference tournament. And they also weren't the top team in their league during the regular season, so they're playing some really good volleyball right now. And they've been here before. They know what it's like to play at this regional level. That coaching staff will have them ready.
You guys have been here before too, and a lot of the starters tomorrow are the veterans who have been part of multiple regional teams, but a good amount of them also aren't. When you look at the veterans and your experience in coaching this, what do you tell your first-year student athletes that are a part of this for the first time as they get ready for another level of play tomorrow?
The key message is, we have to enjoy this. If there's a certain level of joy that's being brought to the experience, that's going to elevate the level of performance. It just takes away some of those nerves. I think they're going to be nervous. I think the more that the upperclassmen can say, hey, this is what we're here for. This is December. We flip that calendar to December. December volleyball is what defines us. Then I think that they'll maybe lean into that a little bit better, and that'll help with that performance. But again, the home crowd. Most of the fans are going to be rooting for us. So I hope that energy, conducts itself into the team as well.
And while you're hosting the regional again, it's the first time in the last couple of years you've hosted it in this new building. I'm sure an extra layer of excitement as well for that.
When the building was nearing its completion last year, my team last year was like, is there any chance it's going to be ready for the regional? And we're like, no, it's not going to happen. But so this group, they understand how great it is that we get to do this. And I think that also actually contributed to how bummed we were when we thought we might not be here after we lost East Stroudsburg. But yeah, I don't think we're taking any of that stuff for granted. I think that's going to be a real added benefit to what we're doing.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
Our thanks to Coach Matt Darling during an incredibly busy time for being with us for a few minutes ahead of the Atlantic Regional. Make sure you can watch the Gannon Golden Knights volleyball team in action in the first round of the regional tournament tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. against Fayetteville State inside the Highmark Event Center. And also want to mention as well in the podcast that all students, your tickets are free for every day that Gannon competes in the tournament. So as long as the Golden Knights keep advancing, your tickets are free. So again, make sure to head on over there. Thanks to Student Government Association for making those tickets a free endeavor for as many days as Gannon is playing. All right, here's what else is on tap for this weekend. We mentioned the Volleyball Atlantic Regional. We also talked about men's soccer. We'll hear from Coach Billy Colton in just a moment. They are getting ready for the Super Region 1 Championship at Southern New Hampshire. That game will be played at 3 p.m. And if the Golden Knights win that Elite 8 matchup, they will be heading to the Final Four in Colorado Springs next week. Not to be outdone, women's wrestling, they're home as well. So make sure before you see volleyball on Saturday that you head over to the Recreation and Wellness Center courts because it's a huge event for women's wrestling. Coach Erin Vandiver and her squad will get ready for welcoming in 6 total teams for the Gannon women's duels on Saturday. The Golden Knights will be featured 3 times in a head-to-head format as 6 teams compete in the Gannon women's duel. So best of luck to Coach Vandiver and the Golden Knights ahead of that on Saturday. Men's and women's basketball here as well. Not here, but on the road. They'll be trekking to Shepherd to face the Rams in a doubleheader. 1 and 3 p.m. are the game times in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. A couple of news and notes before we get to head coach Billy Colton. We want to welcome Jaden Johnson to our athletic coaching team. Jaden was just recently named an assistant competitive cheer and dance coach under head coach Kelly Mikowski. Coach Jaden, we're excited to have, and that competitive cheer and dance season getting underway very soon. So best of luck to him and the team as they compete soon here in the coming weeks ahead of that 2025-2026 season. Couple of rankings updates for you. Men's basketball ranked 17th in the latest NABC Division II rankings after winning the Gary Miller Classic over a previously undefeated Lake Erie team over the weekend. Women's basketball is up to 6th in the WBCA coaches poll for the top 25 in D2. Leave Right squad just picked up their 8th win of the season with a victory over DeUville last night, 72-50 inside the Highmark Event Center. Our student athletes of the week are Maddie Wheatley and Enzo Recca. Congratulations to Maddie for her great performance in Hawaii in the 2 wins that Gannon had in the westernmost portion of the United States. And Enzo Recca, the freshman, who we're going to talk about a little bit in a minute with head coach Billy Colton, the game-winning goal in the regional semifinal, 10 goals on the season for him, and of course, Gannon men's soccer is in the Elite Eight in what will be another incredible game coming up on Saturday at 3 p.m. Speaking of men's soccer, let's talk to head coach Billy Colton, a team that has been one of resilience, no doubt. They were 2-2-2 at the end of September, and they have made their name known since. Off to the Elite Eight, another opportunity for Gannon to make a huge run in the tournament and head to the Final Four against Southern New Hampshire. Here's Coach Billy Colton.
2 weeks ago, I sat here and talked to Coach Billy Colton. We're talking about PSACs. Now we're talking about the Elite Eight. It has been a wild, wonderful, and crazy few weeks, and I want to start with a texting conversation that you and I had back and forth when you were on the bus on the ride home last week after your victory against Franklin Pierce. And you told me that these moments, you can't understand them unless you're a part of them. What has this part of the season, i.e. the last 2 weeks, been like for you?
It's gone really fast, even though the games are so spread out, because this week is actually, it's a little bit of a shorter week because we've only got Sunday to Saturday, but all the planning that we've done the last few weeks, it's a bit like, everyone knows their roles now. Mickey knows what he's got to get done. Bex knows what she's got to get done. We know how we can do it, everything to get ready for departure on Wednesday night. But it's been fun. It's been so much fun. You get another game to prepare for, another good team to prepare for. And, the big thing we always talk about is we just want another week together. Yeah. That's all we want. We want another week of preparation, another week of training, another week on the bus, another week of meals, another week of hotels. And we got it again.
I know that it's been such a crazy season, right, in the way that you started and the way that you are now. But is there anything specific when you've watched this team the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks with PSACs and now the 2 weeks in the NCAA that has fundamentally changed in terms of what they do on the field? I know you've substituted your lineup a lot. You've put a lot of freshman guys in. That's been well noted. But what fundamentally on the field has changed with this team that has given them so much confidence to go out and beat these great teams?
Yeah, I think come the start to middle of October, they finally realised that talent wasn't enough, that you need so much more than talent. And the more together the group is, the easier things become. The harder you make training, for each other, the easier the game becomes a little bit. We talk a lot about with the so-called non-starters that they have such an important role in helping prepare the starters, because the harder they can make it for them starters, the easier the game becomes. And, you see someone like Adri not played much the last few weeks and he has to go on after 10 minutes against one of the best teams in the country and he's ready. And that strength in depth has really helped. When we make subs, the standard doesn't drop and then players are ready on the side.
So let's talk about the last 2 weeks. I'm not sure where you've purchased your real estate in the Boston area. It's a little expensive. I've looked myself, but I feel like we've been there for the last 2 straight years. We've been there for the last 2 straight weeks, and we'll be there again on Saturday. Take me through, let's start with the game that you just played in Franklin Pierce. You told me after the game, one of the best teams in the entire country. You've used the word resiliency. You've used the word stamina, determination, all those things. You've had a history with them, right? Yep. We're up 2-0 last year at home and lost. How important was that game for this program to come away with a win, knowing what Franklin Pierce has done historically in the last decade plus?
It's huge, not just for this group, but for future groups. To sort of get that monkey off our back that, yeah, we can beat this team. The last 2 years we got really close. And last year we were a little bit unfortunate not to win that game, but that's what happens. And this year we found a way to win that game. You see that when it went 1-1, they was on top a little bit, but there was no panic. There was no, here we go again. There was nothing like that. It was just, right, we know what we've got to do and we're going to get it done.
Then the Bentley game before that, again, it was the last game of the string of your comeback kids. You guys have had great second halves. What has it been about this team in the postseason that you've played so well the further the game goes on? Because that was the case in the Franklin Pierce game too, right? They tie the game 5 minutes into the second half, then you started to dominate, you started to get more chances. What has allowed this team in the second half, whether it's adjustments or whatnot, to be as good as they've been?
I think it's our strength in depth. Because we have a lot of our attacking players, especially that don't play 90 minutes, they play 60, they play 70. We bring someone else on and they're just as good as the player in front of them, and unlucky. A lot of players are unlucky not to be starting. Mm-hmm. But you bring them fresh legs on, and then you've got some of them starters to come back on and finish. You look at Enzo, he played, maybe the first 30 minutes. Yeah. Then he came back on for the last 25 minutes, and then he's fresh to be able to go and do something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes a huge difference, especially this time of year when you can look down your bench and go, yeah, we've got options here where we can make subs and we can get better or at least stay where we are.
Yeah, you've taken advantage of it, and yeah, we get to play for regional championship, and we know what that's been. You just talked about a second ago getting the monkey off our backs. It feels like you've gotten a lot of those off your back in this playoff run, right? PSAC's the Franklin Pierce victory. Did you ever anticipate that you would be able to, forget just this year, but to be able to do everything you've done in terms of, I don't want to say checklist items, but getting all these things done in just one season?
I think so, because we've been so close. You know, if you look last year, we lost 2-1 in the final to Bloomsburg in a game that we should have won, where we was given a penalty and then the penalty was overturned for some reasons. Last year we were so close to beating Franklin and Pierce. So I think we've been close. It's just been about, sometimes it's about belief and just believing that we can do it. And last week a lot of the conversation was around everything we done was believing that we could go and beat Franklin and Pierce at Franklin and Pierce.
Yeah, and a lot of that's been, as much as it's been the freshman, Enzo with the game-winning goal, it's been your leaders. And I don't normally ask you about specific players, but we talk about Sverre Orton and Sevi all the time. He's going to go into this game against Southern New Hampshire leading Division II in goals. He's got 17, scored the first goal in the victory last week against Franklin Pierce. How important is he, specifically in this playoff run, specifically, let's say, in moments when you give up that tying goal to keep people invested, not invested, but interested in the task at hand as opposed to wandering away with their mind?
I think he gives you an option where you always think he's going to score. You always think he's going to create something. Mm-hmm. The team knows that you've got someone there. And not just him, and if he doesn't, you've got Enzo. If he doesn't, you've got Rafa. If he doesn't, you've got PK. PK had a huge game on Sunday.
Should have scored.
After being out for a few weeks, he's come back so strong. And it's not just Sevi's Shota behind him, just runs and runs and runs. And then Gonza's been so good at anchoring the back four. And no matter what happens, the communication, that spine, even Andre behind then, he made some big saves on Sunday when we needed him. The players that we needed to have big games at big times have, and then as the leaders have raised their game, everyone behind them has just raised their game.
Let's talk about the game on Saturday. I know it's still early in the week as we're taping this, and you're probably jet lagged from having to go back and forth on the bus. Are you staying at the same hotel in Albany that you stayed at?
We're not, no.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're not going quite that far on Wednesday.
All right. Well, you got time. You got a little bit of time. We know the drive to Boston's 8.5 hours. New Hampshire's just a shade bit above that to the north. It's the third straight week that Gannon has been in the Boston, New Hampshire area. You beat the third seed out of the NE10, the second seed out of the NE10, and now the top seed out of the NE10. Coincidentally, all the top three seeds in the region. Southern New Hampshire has been at the top seemingly all year. What about them will be key as you look into this game and start digging at film?
There's a reason they're number one, and there's a reason they was basically the number one team in the country for a good part of the year. It's going to be the hardest game of the year, but what else do you expect when there's only 8 teams left? Mm-hmm. To be the best, you've got to beat the best. So, it's a great test for us. It's a great challenge for us. We go in as the underdog. Maybe that helps a little bit. We can go in with a chip on our shoulder, but we have to play the best game of our season again on Saturday. We have to get a little bit better again. We have to be even more mentally switched on, and we have to be ready for what they're going to throw at us. But they've also got to be ready for what we're going to throw at them.
I hate to use the word comfortable, because you never want to be comfortable in these situations, but have you become now used to this travel situation because it's the third straight week you're doing it? I'm sure that helps a bit.
I think so, and we keep a lot of things the same. Like we keep the rooms the same, we keep a lot of the scheduling the same. The boys always know what's going on. There's no surprises. We try to get on the field 2 days, so you get your guaranteed 1 day on the field on Friday. Well, we're going to get to practice at Southern New Hampshire on Thursday as well, which helps. It just makes you more familiar with the surroundings and with everything you're going to expect on game day. Yeah. So the more comfortable to a degree of knowing them things, it makes a difference, and there's no surprises, nothing you're not ready for. So I think that helps.
Looking forward to seeing men's soccer back in action in the Elite Eight. Should make sure my mic's good so you guys can hear me. Looking forward to seeing men's soccer back in the Elite Eight. We'll be there covering the team on social media with other updates as well at 3 o'clock when they take on Southern New Hampshire on Saturday. If they win that game, they move to the Final Four in Colorado Springs next week, and they would have beaten the number 3, the number 2, and the number 1 seeds in the tournament en route to getting here. So cannot wait to get to see how this team does moving forward. A couple of other awards for you that we want to mention. Congratulations to our second and first team honors for the D2 CCA All-Atlantic Region volleyball team. Lauren Atwell and Sydney Wake named to the second team for the CCA in 2025. And Bangasu Arslan continuing her arsenal, no pun intended, of great awards for this season, was named to the first team D2 CCA All-Atlantic Region volleyball team. All right, let's get ready to wrap up this show tonight. Before we do, though, as always, we want to thank our sponsor, John Russell Hospitality, for being with us each and every single week and sponsoring our program here in the United Podcast.
At John Russell Hospitality, every restaurant tells a story of flavor, community, and unforgettable moments. From handcrafted meals to welcoming spaces, we bring people together around a table. John Russell Hospitality, where great food meets genuine companionship. Make sure to visit one of our 6 locations today.
All right, thanks again to John Russell Hospitality and their continued support of the United Podcast. Wrapping up our show tonight with the only way we know how. It's the top 5 plays of the week, and we actually have 2 weeks worth of plays to go through because we weren't here for Thanksgiving. So let's just say we have a pretty exciting list to get to you here on this Wednesday. I keep saying Thursday, this Wednesday to start the month of December. At number 5 on our top 5 plays of the list, let's go to men's soccer against Bentley 2 weeks ago. And this was the GWG to send Gannon to the Franklin Pierce game. How about Sverre Orton calm, composed, cool, and collected with the game-winning goal to beat Bentley? Sevi now leads Division 2 in goals at 17 as Gannon heads to the Elite Eight. Congratulations again, men's soccer won a run. Here at number 4, never got a chance to showcase this on the podcast with our recap video, but how about Emily Bowers? Congratulations to the sophomore Harrier. She becomes the first Gannon women's cross-country runner ever to compete in national championships. Some video from her race and her competition. Just an incredible mark from Emily, and we're so proud of her. 91st, she was in the top 100 out of more than 250 runners, and that face says it all. She said afterwards, little Emily never would have believed I could do this, but here I am living out my dream. And we're so proud of Emily and can't wait to see what she does in the coming years at Gannon University. Let's go to number 3, Gary Miller Classic. Gannon, Lake Erie, the championship. Victor Desmond throwing it now from downtown. Take a look again. You're going to see a lot more of that this year. Vic going airborne over top the defender. Gannon, by the way, another victory. 2 wins at home and a Gary Miller Classic championship for Coach Easton Bizzoli in their first action at home this season. Number 2, Dr. Matt Darling for volleyball. This is the PSAC semifinals against UPJ. That block from in tight, Bangasu Arslan, who doesn't typically see herself up there at the net, but she makes plays wherever she is on the floor. She will be a key piece of this regional squad, who starts tomorrow at 4:30 against Fayetteville State in their quest for a regional championship. But at number 1, you probably know what it is if you've been watching Gannon Athletics for the last couple of weeks, and that's this man, Enzo Recca, taking the ball from the 40-yard line, and he just does what Enzo does. Left-footed boot, bottom right of the cage, and that's your GWG. The funny part about this goal is that Franklin Pierce, the whole time Enzo had the ball, was telling their team exactly what Enzo would do. It's the worst nightmare of a coach, knowing what someone's going to do, and they still do it anyway. The freshman with his 10th goal of the year in the pouring rain and the biggest one of the season, and the Golden Knights are off to the Elite Eight on Saturday. We hope we see more of that from Enzo, Sevi, and the rest of the Golden Knights squad when they get ready for that big game against Southern New Hampshire coming up on Saturday at 3 p.m., just about an hour to the north of downtown Boston, Massachusetts. Well, that's going to do it for our show tonight, everyone. We thank you again for being with us on this Wednesday. We will be back next Thursday for our United Podcast a location right now. The plan is the U-Pick 6 Tap House, but that will still be to be determined depending on some results that come from this week. So stay tuned to our social media for more information on where our next podcast is going to be. Rest assured, we'll have another one next week just before the end of the fall sports season. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We can't wait to see you out at the regional tomorrow and hopefully at both volleyball and men's soccer on Saturday when they both would go for regional championships. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you all next Thursday.
Come on!